Welcome to Collections of Cinema.
Welcome to a new episode of Collections of Cinema with Voivy and Danny.
I'm
Danny.
Voivy.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's the new year, and we have a big wish for the new year, and our wish is to grow our podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
So, thank you for supporting us. If you want to keep supporting us, share the podcast, send it to a friend, or head over to our Patreon, where Joe is still currently our only Patreon member.
Hi, Joe.
Rate the podcast on Apple or Spotify, and yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, and you can
Goodbye.
you can like the podcast on YouTube, where we also have the video podcast.
Yep. And you can follow our socials on Threads and Instagram.
Right. So for the new year, we have a movie that was picked last year.
Mm-hmm.
But since we did the Christmas episodes, we didn't get to it. And this movie is called Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe.
And I'm actually very impressed that the German title is actually...
It's the same.
It's just the same in German. Like, they didn't do something stupid like Penny Lane.
Yeah.
Penny Lane follows the band.
The band followers.
Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Penny Lane the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually impressed.
Yep. So yeah, Almost Famous came out in 2000, which is funny because we watched recently.
I thought it was 2001.
No, 2000.
Okay.
And we just recently watched a movie with
The Family
Cage,
Man.
The Family Man, also 2000. That was a weird coincidence. Directed by Cameron Crowe, written by Cameron Crowe, produced by Cameron Crowe. Okay, Cameron Crowe.
Starring Cameron Crowe.
No,
He plays all of the characters.
Yeah, budget of 60 million.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And box office only 47.4 million. So
That's sad. It's a great
underperformed.
movie.
I agree. We got here the beautiful extended version. I think that was actually the first release on Blu-ray. I think there was never a second release. And the extended version is 40 minutes longer. So instead of 122 minutes, this is 161 minute long. I've never seen the original theatrical release. I only watched this one because that's the one I got.
I have, but it's been so long that I only know this one. Like,
It's
I can't
funny
remember what's not in
because
the first
the
one.
40 minutes it doesn't feel like it dragged the movie. Like we watched it yesterday, and there's no scene where I would say like, oh,
Let's
you could
cut
that.
Yeah, I agree.
It still feels very rushed because they move so fast, especially once they're on tour. You don't really know how many weeks pass because it's like scene, and you have no clue besides the place they are at the point. So let's get into the plot of the movie. Do you want to quickly go through that?
Yeah, there's a young man and a high school kid.
Yeah.
And
William.
Yep. And he finds an interest and a passion for music because of his older sister.
Yeah.
And he wants to write for a magazine.
Yeah.
And he contacts this magazine, Cream magazine.
Yeah.
He contacts them because he listens to, I think they have a radio station or something. And so he was talking to Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, right. He's basically also like a writer, but he's like his mentor.
Yeah.
And he's this you can see he loves music, and he's this total a nerd about music, but it's Philip Seymour Hoffman, so he's just super eccentric and just the coolest dude ever.
I mean, he sells it so well.
Yeah.
But he essentially tells him, okay, you can write, a little piece for us.
Yeah.
And he does, and it gets noticed by Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
And so Rolling Stone contacts William and says, hey, not knowing that he's a 15-year-old kid. He also does not tell them that he's a 15-year-old kid. And he says, hey, do you want to write for us? We could, 1,000-page or 1,000-word article. We'll pay you $700, which, at that time it was the 80s, I think.
Yeah, and the movie starts in 1969, but then once he is 15, it's 1973.
Okay. 73.
Yep.
So, it's a lot of money for for a kid at that time, and to write for Rolling Stone is like a dream. So
that alone, it's not about the money, it's about
and that's essentially where it picks up. And he was originally supposed to interview Black Sabbath at a concert, but he couldn't get in, and he ends up finding an in with this fictional band that was created for the movie called Stillwater, and ends up following them around and writing their story.
Sorry. Right. So the cast. Patrick Fugit is basically the lead, more or less. He's the kid. Then we have Billy Kudrup. He is the guitar player, and he's basically the lead of the band, more or less. He's the singer.
Unexpectedly, the singer was supposed to be the front man, and it turned out that guy kind of took Russell.
And then we have
over.
Frances McDormand. I mean,
who's
legend.
His mom?
He's playing the mom, and she has the best scenes.
She's so great.
At the beginning, like the first scene is so funny. They're sitting in the car, and he struggles to blend in with all the other kids in school. And his mom then tells him, "Yeah, you're actually not 11. You're 10."
No, he's not 12, or he's not.
Oh,
12,
sorry, he's not 12. He's 11.
Yeah.
Because he skipped the year, and he also skipped the year of kindergarten because she told him everything beforehand.
So he's much younger than
he's much younger, and so it made sense that he has no pubes yet, and he all that stuff that kids
were like taunting, like kids were taunting him about. So
yeah, it's really funny. Then Kate Hudson, she's the female
brilliant.
lead. Penny Lane, she's really good. Jason Lee is in it, which is actually funny because Jason Lee stars in the Chipmunk movies, and the movie starts with Alvin and the
Chipmunks, that's true.
So it's kind of funny. It's like a full circle thing. Also, Jason Lee, known from My Name is Earl, the series. Yeah, and yeah.
I have to say, I mean, I understand the choice not to, kind of, but I feel like they should have put in the Beatles song Penny Lane at some point for Penny Lane.
I assume they didn't get the rights, or it was too expensive.
I guess that as well.
I'm pretty sure that was the case, yeah.
Because you're just like, at least me, I was just waiting for it. Like the whole time I'm just waiting for it. Like, especially when they introduce her, it would be cool if it was just like playing kind of melancholically or something in the background, just kind of like fade out in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, that's my one grief with the movie.
So yeah, he follows them around, and obviously a lot of things happen, and it's essentially a coming of age movie. A lot of people call it one of the best coming of age movie ever made. It's a cult classic at this point. Almost Famous was ranked 79th greatest film since 2000 by the BBC. It won multiple. I was nominated for multiple Oscars and received four. So it received 4 nominations for Oscars and won Best Original Screenplay, which is pretty big.
Wow.
Golden Globes, and lots of other stuff. Again, the movie was a financial failure, which is too bad because
it is too bad.
It's pretty great.
It's definitely up there in one of my favorite films. Like, it's one of those movies I can watch so many times and I don't get sick of it. Like, I just feel like it's such good storytelling and character building, and it's just I love everything about it. Except for Zooey Deschanel's performance.
Yeah, Zooey Deschanel is the sister.
I really like her, but she did not do well in that movie.
She has like 3 scenes in the movie.
Yeah, she's not really in it that much.
Yeah, she
overacts the whole thing, and it's very like.
It could also be
very in your face.
Directing, I don't know.
Who knows?
I mean, the movie. What I really like about the movie is the portrayal of the 70s. Lots of drugs, rock and roll. It's essentially the typical how you would imagine it. They're on a tour bus driving through the US and just partying, having fun. And the kid, 15, obviously he doesn't do drugs, he doesn't drink. He tries to keep up and tries to get all the interviews, and essentially the main goal is to get Billy Kudrup's interview, like the guitarist player, because he just, wiggles himself out all the time. And obviously there's more to the whole thing. So there's this underlying fight going on between the band members. Like, everybody feels like Billy Kudrup or the guitar. What is his name? I don't want to. Russell, right. Everybody feels like Russell is like the lead because he's so beautiful and he plays so fucking well guitar. And all the women are, falling for him. And Jason Lee is as Jeff, the singer, and technically the band lead who formed the band, feels left out or feels like he's sidelined, kind of. And that's a lot. That's a big part of the plot. And then obviously, and then obviously the boy trying to also finish school, and his mom who is trying to.
And the whole time he's struggling to get an interview with Russell, and the last like half of the movie is just he's stuck on this tour with them. Like he's enjoying it, but he's stuck there with them because he can't get this interview from Russell, and Russell keeps like putting it off and saying, "Okay, in the next city, in the next city, in the next city," and he needs it because he wants to go home and he wants to, you know, he has to get back to school and he has to, you know, otherwise his mom's. And then obviously pissed.
Also William and Penny Lane's love triangle with Russell, kinda. It's not like I would say it's platonic love.
Yeah, I mean, from William's side, he is in love with her, and that's clear from the second he meets her. But Penny, you know, she's obviously too old for him, but I think she sees something in him. Like I mean, even Russell said it's like mentioned at some point she likes to take in strays, and so that seems to be kind of her thing. But I think for her it's more platonic love, but she really does have like affection for him, and she really loves him. Yeah, and
But she falls for Russell's character, for Billy Kudrup.
I mean, they have a history.
They have a history, and she falls for him then again, and they kind of have a fling during the tour. But at the end, spoiler, it comes out that Russell actually has a wife, and they meet up in New York, and Penny didn't know, and is blindsided kind of, and her like the thing that she held on to the whole tour, because she also struggles with like, what do I want to do in my life?
She wants to move around, and she wants to kind of get out.
Right.
She's kind of escaping. She wants to escape everything.
Right. And the tour was perfect because she was so in the middle of everything, kind of. And she talked about like leaving the country and all that stuff. And then the tour came along, and she was again in her comfort zone, because that's what she's been doing for years. And at the end, she finally, it's funny because it's kind of a coming of age between also of Penny. Like Penny is Marley. Penny is also kind of coming of age. She's coming out of this comfort zone of being on tour with bands that she really likes, and finally leaving or doing something, pursuing something. You don't know what she's doing, but finally doing something that she wants to do, or pursuing her own career, whatever. Yeah. And I really like the ending where Russell calls her up and it's like, hey, I want to talk again. I want to meet you. I want to make things right. Yeah. Give me your address. I'm there. And she gives him an address and ends up.
But it's William's address.
Right. And he ends up at William's place, and they talk and they kind of make up.
And he gets his interview, like his actual interview. Yeah.
Right. Right. That's a cool scene. He's like, but let's do this one more time. Yeah. One last time, and then they do like an interview, and the movie ends. Yeah, I really like that movie.
Me too.
I don't remember when I watched it the first time. I watched it the first time with you a couple of years ago, and it's such a fun 70s coming of age music film. The music is insane in that movie. There's so many cool scenes. Simon and Garfunkel, The Who, Yes, The Beach Boys, Stillwater, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Led Zeppelin, Elton John, Nancy Wilson, Cat Stevens, Cat McStevenson. Yeah, there are a lot of like the soundtrack is amazing. You could just listen to the whole soundtrack.
Yeah, it's great.
Fucking cool. And they have a lot of cool guest people also in the movie that like have cameos, cameo appearances. Yeah, it's a very cool movie. Natalie Portman was considered for Kate Hudson's role. Right. And
which I also think would have worked, but there's something about Kate Hudson that's so like, I feel like nobody else could really
be
Penny Lane.
I agree. Interestingly, Russell Hammond was originally set to be played by Brad Pitt, but during rehearsal prior to filming, Crowe and Pitt mutually decided it was not the right fit, and Pitt dropped out of the project. Yeah. And the line, "I'm a golden god," when Russell jumps in the pool high on acid, I think, were written by Pitt or for Pitt, but remained in the script. Yeah. And wait, so there's another thing I want to just go through. So the whole story kinda is Crowe's more or less biographical story.
It's semi-autobiographical.
Right.
So there are parts that are autobiographical, because he was a teen writer for Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
But I think he just took some of his experiences to help him write a fictitious story. So there are some aspects that are true for him.
Yeah. William's mother, played by Frances McDormand, was based on Crowe's own mother, and she even showed up on the set while he was working, and he asked her not to bother McDormand, but they got along so well and became friends, which is kind of funny. Yeah. In 2012, Memoir Cross to Bear by Greg Allman, who is Greg Allman Brothers Band. He writes that several aspects of the movie are based on Crowe's time spent with the Allman Brothers Band. So he spent time with them. So he took a lot of that. And the thing is, you can see it. It's very realistic.
Yeah.
Like how the band behaves, how they perform, all of that stuff. You can see that someone like Crowe wrote the whole thing, and he's not a musician. You can see that someone who has actually spent time with musicians wrote that stuff, because it's very realistic. And if you don't know that, like I asked again last night, hey, is that a real band or is it based on a real band? Because it all seems so real.
Yeah.
The airplane malfunction that occurred in the film is a thinly veiled reference to the Lynyrd Skynyrd airplane crash on October 20, 1977. Right. It's a pretty intense scene. Yeah, I think that's it from my part.
Me too.
It's a great movie. If you have not seen the movie, I would highly recommend it. I mean, I love Cameron Crowe movies, actually. He has done a lot of cool stuff. Wait, let me find his last movie was not that great. His last movie was Aloha. Yeah, that was not that great. But we bought a suit. It was nice. Elizabethtown. I really like Vanilla Sky.
I like Elizabethtown too.
Jerry Maguire singles.
Oh, Jerry Maguire is phenomenal.
Yeah. Say Anything. Great movie. Fast Times at Richmond High. He wrote, actually. He didn't direct, but he wrote. Yeah, he did a lot of great movies. He has not done anything.
If you haven't seen Jerry Maguire, see Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. I mean, let us know what you think. Let's talk more on our socials or on Instagram. Instagram or Threads or on YouTube in the comments. Let us know what you think of that movie. Let's get to movie of the week.
Movie of the week.
Okay. We watched The Family Man, Fall Guy, Night Bitch, Y2K, and The Holdovers.
I know what you would pick, but we technically already did that movie of the week, so you can't pick that.
I'm not picking Holdovers.
I'm picking Night Bitch.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Okay, good.
Night Bitch or Family Man, but Night Bitch was such a unique movie and such a cool subject. Night Bitch from 2024. Let me just pull it up here so I can actually... So, was directed by Mariella Heller, and she also wrote the movie. It's based on a book. Apparently the book is better. Amy Adams and Scott McNairy are the leads. Amy Adams is a woman who kind of threw away her professional life for a kid, more or less by her husband just not encouraging her to keep working.
They touched on it. Not just that, but it just ended up being, he made more money. And so if she were to have a job, they would use all of her salary to pay for daycare or whatever the case may be. So it made more sense for her to stay home.
Yeah. And she essentially stays home, but develops this urge of getting
don't give too much away
out. Kind of. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. It's a new movie, and it's a great movie if you've not seen it. But essentially, the movie is about motherhood. It's about the instincts, the instinctual behaviors of mothers, but then also the primal
animalistic urges
of just, you know, getting out of your own skin again after being a mother, like missing out on life, kind of, and all those subjects that I think
and getting to know your own body again. As a new mom, it's something, it hits super hard for me, and that's also why it's my pick, because it might be my favorite movie of the year, honestly. It's made for women. It was so raw, and so like the emotion was so real, but somehow they did it in like both a humorous and also in a way that made you want to cry, and I did cry multiple times during that movie. And but it's so it's not the kind of movie that makes you feel sad about those things. It makes you feel empowered by those things. So it makes you feel like all of these things that you're feeling are so valid, and so like all mothers feel this. And it makes you laugh about them, and it also makes you feel like I'm fucking awesome. Like I'm amazing for having, like, being a mother and having gone through birth and, you know, all of these things. And it's really, really cool. And it's also, you know, they say it's a horror comedy. Don't let that throw you off. It's not horror at all. It's not. There are some elements, without giving anything away, there are some elements where you're like, oh.
There's a body horror element in there, but not really in a gruesome kind of thing, like the substance or something.
Not at all. No.
Not at all. It's all packed in a very light, humorous, but then also dramatic aspects of the whole thing.
Yeah.
What I really like is it's from a woman, made for women, but then also packs in a lot of aspect of, hey, if you're a man and you're watching this, maybe you should consider those things. Maybe you should think about those things. Maybe those things help you understand more about what it means to be a mom, what it means to give away your body to give birth, to find yourself again, then also the work aspect, and I think your identity, like finding your own identity after having basically your body taking away for a while by this fetus that grows in you. It's a really powerful movie, and
it is.
The ratings don't show that, unfortunately, but I get it, because the subject alone is so. It's a very feministic subject, and it's a very untypical subject.
But it's also, I think it has some difficulties getting people to watch it simply because it's put in a category of horror comedy. Sure. Because a lot of people who don't like horror would see horror comedy and they wouldn't watch it. Just because simply it says it's a horror movie, and it's not. And so I really wish that it wasn't categorized that way. Yeah. Because it's really
Amy Adams won a lot of awards already for the movie.
Yeah, she was brilliant.
The movie itself won some awards.
Do you know if she's going to be up for an Oscar for that? I hope so.
The nominations are not out, but she's up for a Golden Globe. We'll see. There's also a Michigan Movie Critics Guild, whatever that is. She's up for a lot of Best Actress.
She was phenomenal.
She's a force. I mean, she's great in everything, but she clearly had kids. Yeah. So she understands.
You feel it.
You feel it. Like, she doesn't act. She just shows you what it feels like. Yeah. It's a very good movie. So I would highly recommend, if you are interested in the subject, or if you're even open to the subject, watch it. I think even people who don't have kids or are not planning to have kids, it's a very powerful movie.
I agree.
Into a different world. And it's also a lot of fun, especially if you like dogs. Just a little side note here.
It's true.
That's it, everybody. That's our first episode. Again, please follow us everywhere on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on our threads or Instagram. And if you want to support us more, head over to our Patreon. That's where you can actually help us the most. And until next week.
See you next time.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.